Welcome to step 2 of what we are calling your underpainting. We call it an underpainting because no one is ever going to be able to see this once your painting is finished. This is the hard work that gets put into your very realistic looking still life paintings. So this is a really time consuming process and you have to be patient. But if you can be and you get all of your shapes right, then when you go to fill them in, it's almost like color by number, and it's really easy for you to fill them in and make them look realistic because you did this hard part first. So the next step is to mix a really light pink color. Step 1 was yellow, step 2 is pink. We're actually just using the primary colors. So first we used yellow, now we're using a version of red. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this stage to perfect any weird shapes or proportions. So I'm gonna kind of look around and try to put even more detail into this layer of my painting. I want these objects to look just like they do in my reference photograph. So I'm gonna start in the same way I did before, and I'm gonna decide if I think things are the right size. Do my edges look good? Do I need to move anything? And if I do, this is the time to do it. Even if I like something that I've already painted, I'm still gonna paint over it with the pink color, because then as we go along, I won't get confused as to which lines I'm supposed to be using and which ones I'm supposed to be ignoring. So you can see how some of these lines give me a little bit more detail in this apple. I liked the size, so I didn't change much about that. I do want to fix this top part here. This should be overlapping my plate a little more than it does. I can even choose to paint in really prominent highlights and shadows if I want to. We know those are essentially just shapes and lines. The more detail you put in your underpainting, the easier it is to fill it in with color. The lemon has to come down a little bit. Make sure you're paying really close attention to the overlapping of objects. It's called spatial relationships. So if something's supposed to be touching something else, you have to make sure it really is. Otherwise, all the objects in your painting are going to be shifted and you're going to find it difficult to use your reference photograph. You can see how I'm just slightly altering these object shapes as I repaint them. This is your first time doing this, so you're probably going to be altering them a lot more than I am. Your whole painting could potentially be shifted one way or the other, and that's okay. Just make sure you're looking at your photograph just as much, if not more, than your painting. The only way your painting is going to look like your photograph is if you're looking at your photograph. This edge is tricky to paint in here because there's such a dark shadow. It's hard to see. So I could actually draw in the shape of that shadow that I'm seeing to remind myself that it's there. It's the darkness between my apple and my grapes. I missed some lines in here last time, so I'm going to draw those in. Again, this apple has a really dark shadow. So I'm going to paint in the shape for that. It also has a very dramatic highlight on the top. Make sure you understand where I am seeing these in my photo. It's going to make it easier when you reference your own. So here's a big shift right here. Now that I've repainted some of this stuff, this is not accurate. That needs to be touching this apple. So I'm gonna have to shift that red apple in the back way over here. Still like where it ends though. So this is going to get lower too because that does not touch that red apple. This orange stays down here. Dark shadow in here. And then my lime. Those two don't quite touch. That's my leaf, and my grapes exist back in here. Can get a little more specific now if I want to. That looks much more accurate to my photo this time around. Now I just gotta touch up my plate. Forgot about my pear. I'm only going to paint in the grapes I can really see. The ones that are super defined all the way around. Okay, so that's step 2 of my underpainting. There's just one last step after this.